You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner, and on today's episode, it's going to be the best episode we've ever recorded. Hey, it could happen. We are reviewing Angels in the Outfield. But first, Eddie, how's the family?
We are doing well. We have been on a little bit of a Lion King kick in our house ever since we reviewed that a couple of weeks ago.
Episode 25.
Lewis has been a little obsessed. Anytime we're in the car, he wants to listen to Lion King, which is a little difficult because he's also still a big fan of Cars, which he calls Lightning McQueen, right?
Oh.
And the way he says Lightning McQueen and Lion King, it's really hard. It's very close, in 2-year-old lingo. So there's times where I get it wrong, where he just says, Daddy, I listen to Lion King. And you're like, I think this one's Lion King. So I'll, throw it on Circle of Life. And he's like, no, Lion McQueen. I'm like, okay, we want the Cars soundtrack. So we listen to the Cars soundtrack. But most of the time it is the Lion King. So much so, we were out of town this weekend and he was kind of sleeping in the same room as Sarah and I, just in his little sleeping bag in the corner. And in his sleep, he was singing Hakuna Matata. And it was the cutest little thing you've ever heard in your life to hear a 2-year-old in his sleep saying Hakuna Matata, Hakuna Matata.
That is
so
funny.
Yes. Lion King was a big hit, continues to be in our house. So yeah, that's one of the big things that's going on here.
Very fun. Very fun. So another thing I saw, I had a question for you about your weekend. What is the donut trail?
So apparently I'm going to get this wrong. It's the county like north of Cincinnati, Ohio. It's like Warren County, I want to say. Warren Butler County or something like that. There are like 13 donut shops in like a 30-minute radius. I would guesstimate 45-minute radius. And if you get a donut at each of those shops, like you get a passport, and if you get a donut at each of those shops, they like stamp at each location. If you hit all 13, you get a free t-shirt.
So did you do it?
How many do you think we completed? There are 13 donut shops. We had a Saturday set aside.
3.5.
5.
Nice.
We hit 5.
How often do people actually hit all 13?
So here's what we learned. There was a lot of people who were kind of making they'd been going at this. Like each weekend they go hit a new donut shop. And so then that way, like over the course of the year, they complete the donut trail.
So you don't have to do it in one day.
No. It's just like complete this form. You take it back to like the county visitor center. They give you the t-shirt. Wah. So we were like, oh, this is the donut trail. Let's hit it. Let's go at it. This was mom and dad's idea. And so and of course, I can't eat any wheat. So that rules out the donut itself. Sarah can't eat any dairy. So that rules out everything that's on top of a donut. So we're just like going along. We were the drivers. Sarah drove a car with all the girls. I drove the guy.
The designated drivers.
Exactly. So we get to the 5th one. We pull up, listening to the Lion King, of course, with my nephews. My younger nephew the whole time we kept saying how was he saying this? He kept trying to call Timon Toomba. And we kept saying, no, it's Timon and Pumbaa. And he's like, that's what I said. It's Toomba. Toomba. We're like,
He's just
no,
doing a squish name.
on. He's squishing it. So we pull up to the 5th location and they go, Grandpa, I don't think I can eat anymore. So my dad said, we'll get these to go. This will be our last one of the day.
That's awesome.
So we hit 5. It was a lot of fun. It was really cool. There was a lot of other people who were out and about doing it. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
Well, that is fun.
Yeah, so we did.
Sounds like a full weekend. And you had so much time this weekend because there was no WandaVision to watch.
Well, there was the making of WandaVision.
That is correct. My bad. Assemble.
You texted me. This is our level of ESPN. You texted me, hey, did you notice that this, making of WandaVision came out while we were watching it? Like, we were literally halfway through watching it, and you texted me, and I'm like, Sarah, look. She's like, you too.
This has happened several times in the past month, I think, where we were literally, I saw something, you were in the middle of watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple times.
Yes.
Well, the good thing is that we do have more to look forward to this weekend with Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out.
Yeah, they just released a couple of, like the last trailer. They did like a 30-second clip or whatever. And I hadn't realized how much they were leaning into almost kind of the buddy cop drama.
Oh,
like
you didn't get that vibe from all the rest of the trailers?
No, I don't know how I missed that, but very much some of your kind of
that's
bad
the genre
boys,
for
Hot
this.
Fuzz feel. Yep.
That's the genre. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that we have been talking a lot about that.
Did you forget for a second what we do?
I couldn't remember what it was called for a second. I'm in another place right now, Eddie.
What's this white ball in front of me?
I'm having an out-of-body experience for our Angels in the Outfield episode today. So that's one thing that we are looking forward to is watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier this weekend. Once again, wasn't my first choice of stories I was super excited to watch, but they did such a good job with WandaVision. I know this is going to be different, Eddie, but they've kind of raised the bar a little bit.
That's what I was going to say. The bar is really high now. Like with WandaVision, I was, we'll just see. I don't know. And
shocking.
Yeah, we've started going back and rewatching it just because we liked it so much. We're already going back.
Yep, that's what I did too. Another thing that we have to look forward to, maybe, is the Oscar nominations that just came out. Eddie, I had made a gentleman's wager with no money that with some other friends that the Oscars were not going to happen this year. And I was dead wrong. They are happening. The Oscar nominations came out today. And I haven't seen most of the films that they have on there. I'm pretty embarrassed by the number of films that are on there because I have no desire to see them. But we do have a couple Disney Plus nominations in there with both Onward and Soul being nominated, both for Best Animated Picture of the Year. And then Soul is also rounding out a couple other awards. They are up for Best Sound, which we'll get to in a second. Big change to the nominations. Best Sound and Best Soundtrack.
Yeah.
Best Score.
Original score, which I was surprised that we didn't see Best new original song with John Baptiste writing those songs. I really like him, and I like some of the stuff he's putting out right now. So I thought there would be
some of the best stuff of that film. Some of the best stuff of that film. If you want to listen to us bicker and argue and come to blows, you should
what
go
was
check
that
out.
episode?
There's we still can't remember what actual episode it was because we talked for about 5 minutes on the actual.
And
episode.
I have to eat some crow here because in that episode, I believe I made a strong statement that I felt like Soul was going to end up getting a Best Picture nod because the pickings were so slim. It did not get a Best Picture nod. It just got Best Animated Picture nod. So
I would have a witty comment, but that literally is one of the only two. Onward and Soul are one of the only two films on this entire list that I've actually seen this year.
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. And since recording that podcast, I've talked to a lot more people who had a very similar reaction that you had. Like I only meet people, they either had like your reaction or they had my reaction. Like there's no middle ground. You either loved it and thought it was amazing, or you're like, that was awful.
It is more evident of the withering middle class in America.
Whoa, don't go there. Don't go there.
It's not that podcast, everybody. I couldn't even finish the sentence. It was so ridiculous.
It's not that kind of podcast.
So we're not going to talk about that.
But today's movie will bring everybody together.
There's a lot of things coming together, from the sky, from the air, from the trees. Yes, we are going to talk today about the 1994 classic, which is Angels in the Outfield.
Cue the Disney sound effect.
IMDb, you do a little bit better job than you did on the last one. The last one was pretty pitiful with WandaVision. Okay, let's talk about Angels in the Outfield, IMDb. Ooh, Eddie, you are bringing up the actual logo right in front of our faces right now. Your off-grid copy of Angels in the Outfield. Okay, let's do this. When a boy prays for a chance to have a family, if the California Angels win the pennant, angels are assigned to make that possible. Oh, while I'm looking at the beautiful face of Christopher Lloyd. That was better, but it was a lot of setup. It was a lot of setup before the actual, the meat of the actual thing.
For those of you who are just listening and not watching on YouTube, I was holding up what's called a DVD case, a digital video disc for you Gen Zers who think everything is just zapped to you,
Eddie,
your phone.
Did you know that they might have had some of them had their generation changed? Some of them are now Generation C for COVID.
Oh, bless
Gen
your
C.
heart. Good,
some of them. I don't know where the breakdown is, but anyways, yeah. Eddie, how long did it take you to get your copy? From all the way from Anaheim, actually.
I think a week and a half. I think it was all said and done, like a week and a half
to get your copy.
I did. And
when did you almost lose hope?
By 1994 standards, that is a miraculous feat. They took fast.
They took 1994 standards to get that thing to you.
I never lost hope. I have great hope in UPS. But yes, yeah. I'm fine. I'm happy with my life's choices. You can just continue to sell all of your information to the man. That's your choice.
I'm not selling. I'm just giving it away. So Eddie, Angels in the Outfield, I think we both can probably say that this was a classic in our homes.
Yes.
A classic Disney film. I don't know how
you
wore this VHS out all the way out, which is pretty surprising for the number of profanities in this film for a kid's movie. Now, granted, they play up on it, and then maybe that's why I was able to watch it, was because then they have the moment where
that moment.
The angels don't want you to curse anymore. He's like, no profanity.
If we learn two things from this movie, we learn 1, don't curse, and 2, don't smoke. You'll end up being an angel soon.
And don't order nachos because you will sit on them.
There's so many good little moments in this, right? And again, I think this is I think we mentioned this with Mighty Ducks. This is the classic kind of formula for your Disney 90s films like this.
Lots of physical humor.
Yeah, it is not the whole, it is the parts, right? It is what are the little bits, what are little funny moments here and there that really kind of bring this movie together. And there's so many kind of just great ones.
Should we hit the cast? Just go ahead and make sure people are aware of the crazy cast of this.
That is what, I mean, going back and rewatching this now, that I think is what hit me the most watching this, was how many people you're like, oh my goodness, they were in this. Oh my goodness, they were in that. And then you kind of like, you had a couple of really big ones in there.
Even, it was amazing to me how many basically just 2 years after this film, 3 years or 4 years after this film, some of these actors are flipping who's going to be the highest billed person on here. Because you've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in here. You've got Danny Glover as the heavy hitter. This is peak Mount Everest. Danny Glover right here. And so you got Christopher Lloyd. He's also bringing it in right here. So that's like your especially two of the top right there.
Well, and Tony Danza. I mean, he was he was like 80s, early 90s was a megastar. He was big.
Yep. And then batting cleanup, to keep the analogy going.
Good job.
Coming in, like rounding out the end of the rotation is Adrian Brody, which I completely forgot about. And then there's Matthew McConaughey, which he has one talking moment in this entire thing where he's talking about the angels coming to assist him. It felt like I was being held up. And this is coming right off of Dazed and Confused. So it's really funny how close this film is to that, which is kind of his more breakout role. And then so he's on this film.
I think he filmed this one first.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, and then Dazed and Confused. Then don't forget, also you've got, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Neil Mcdonough, Buck from the HBO miniseries Band of Brothers. He was also in Suits. He was in Captain America.
He has way more FaceTime than Adrian Brody and Matthew McConaughey. And then Dermot Mulroney.
Yes.
Just coming in, being his
the
best
bad boy.
Being his best. I think this is where he channeled his inner cool factor in this movie, even though he's breaking his child's heart. And he just carries that throughout the rest of his career. Plays that. Even as old as he's gotten, he just comes in. It's just like, hey, I'm Dermot Mulroney. It's like, just plays that calm, cool, collected, like, he walks, he never runs kind of dude.
You also had Ray O'Sanders. He's the Angels sportcaster. He pops up in a lot of things in the 90s
the big
and
chin,
early 2000s.
The chin.
And then let's also not forget Brenda Fricker. She plays Maggie. She was also the pigeon lady in Home Alone 2.
That's right. How did I forget that?
She's got kind of two really kind of key and similar roles, right? Kind of the motherly sage kind of place there. But I enjoyed seeing her again. But this was, I gotta say, coming back to near the top of the list, like Danny Glover. I've just always enjoyed him, even as a kid. Even some of his other comedy movies just have always really liked Danny Glover. And then to now kind of go back and see like little itty bitty Joseph Gordon-Levitt, now having seen him in so many other things, like he's such a prolific actor, to see him as a little kid is something, right? Like you see a lot of, like he had serious acting chops all the way back in there. There's a few moments where you're like, okay, he's a kid. But for the most part, it's like, wow, this kid's good. He's going to go places.
Oh, he's got a bright future ahead of him. There's so many random one-liners. We talked about this in The Lion King, etc. From a lot of these 90s films, a big part of it is just all of the lines. And one of the biggest one of which is what we opened up with is "It could happen," just all the time. Started using that with my son quite a bit ever since then. We got Nacho Butt in there, but we got "It's not Jello, it's cat brains with food coloring." Come on, I don't use food coloring with my cat brains. Any stick out to you?
I love the owner of the Angels with all of his like weird Texan, your pistol's smoking, pal. Like these weird, just over the top characters of like a Texas baseball team owner.
I do love, which is funny because he's a Texas baseball team owner when the team is in Anaheim, California, but whatever.
No. They're just in California. It's just the California Angels.
Still though, who knows? Random with him, with that character. I guess we're not going to spend too much time on him, but it's odd that he puts up with all this junk that, that Danny Glover puts him through. And then the moment someone even somewhat intimates that there's like potentially there's angels involved, he's like, this is where the buck stops. All the other junk that I put up with him beating up somebody and an assault charges and everything.
Right.
But angels, that's where the buck stops here.
That's crazy.
That's
this is too crazy.
Crazy. I just found that kind of ironic.
Oh my goodness. Yes. I'm sorry. I am so distracted right now. I pulled up a website with quotes and stuff like that, and all of a sudden a little video pop up of a lion chasing Bear Grylls. It's playing on my screen.
That's so weird.
I have no idea. It was like a pop-up ad. So as you were starting to talk, all I see is this lion getting closer and closer to Bear Grylls. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is this?
Well, while you're trying to figure out what your favorite lines were from this, so we got to talk about the other great one.
Sorry.
Is when he's yelling at his team in the locker room. You got your head so far up your butts you can't even see the light of day. That's pure Danny Glover.
Well,
I could see him even coming up with that on the spot. Just go rant and rave. Okay, you got your head. I can see him doing that.
Well, and you notice even in that moment, like, even though that they're sure there is kind of your 90s curse words in there, for the most part, he's trying to, channel his inner Joe Pesci here of like, what are like some things that sound like I'm cursing, but I'm not cursing, so I don't trip like the Disney censors here. And that moment, you're like, what's he gonna say? Oh, so far up his butt. Yeah, sure. A baseball manager's gonna kind of put it that way.
And then you got the kids like holding their ears while he's going on his rant, but like you listen, you can't really hear much of what's happening. Another iconic moments from this is the whole tree scene right before, as they're trying to watch the game, is you kids better have a ticket for that tree. And then just coming home to that iconic home, that old rundown home on the corner, which actually does kind of feel a little bit like Anaheim if you've been ever driven through there. It's got some shade. It quickly becomes some shady territory.
I'm assuming they filmed this whole thing there in
yeah.
Anaheim, right?
We know, especially since they own the team and they can kind of shoot anywhere around there that they want to.
True.
The second Disney-owned sports team after the Mighty Ducks to then get, man, it's so crazy that it still was kicking me like when I was rewatching this. Like they literally own the baseball team. And that's how they're able to use all of this footage, all the facilities and stuff like that. It was nuts.
Yeah, because there's some huge like production quality that happens in this where like, there's those scenes where the whole stadium is packed with people.
Yep.
Especially there for that, the end of the movie, the big winning moment, when they're all standing in the stands doing their angel wave, which I gotta say is like my favorite Joseph Gordon-Levitt moment in this movie, when there's like, does the kid see an angel, and he comes out there and he's like he just looks so sad, but Forrest like, he's gonna die in 6 months, so I've gotta flap my hands for him.
I don't know how I missed that. that what's his name was gonna die. I don't know why. I either just like pushed it out of my brain. It's like, Tony Danza can't die, so I'm just going to like forget about it.
Crazy. I loved that moment. I'm like, is this a PSA for not smoking, kids? Like, well, he's been smoking a few too many, if you know what I mean, kid. That never ends well.
I think this must have been like literally right after someone had brought up the fact, hey, there's a lot of smoking in
all of our
Disney
movies.
In Disney movies. Maybe we should talk about that. They're like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, well, let's have our character die because of smoking.
But we'll have Christopher Lloyd say it, so it will come across to maybe a little more.
It was an upbeat death.
Upbeat death.
It was an upbeat death. Okay, so we've gone this far. We haven't really talked about the angels yet. We need to talk about that.
The baseball players, or
No, we've been talking about the baseball players, but
the
real angels in here.
I say that because that's the other funny line that they say it a couple times where it's like, well, we've got 25 angels right here, or something. Okay.
Do the angels and the CGI and everything, does it hold up this many years later?
I was actually pleasantly surprised by the CGI. I thought it actually did hold up. I think they did it in such a way where they weren't trying to be super realistic. They were trying to be a little quirky and lighthearted with it. And I think that's why it holds up. It's still
fun. It's still a lot of fun. Even like the little thing, like the one angel sticking his tongue out or the same way as the batter sticks his tongue out. How they're a little mischievous.
Yeah.
There's a lot of life to it. It's not just these round orbs or what they call like these people in sparkling pajamas.
Right. The moment the CGI that I went, whoa, wow, this is a 90s movie, is when Christopher Lloyd's character like morphs into the big dude next to Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, and they kind of like they morph for a second, and you see them like it's him, it's the other guy, it's him, it's the other guy, and then he kind of morphs into it. I'm like, wow, that's actually that holds up, and that's a pretty complicated CGI moment. I was pleasantly surprised by that.
I would agree. I mean, those are the moments you remember as a kid. Matthew McConaughey being held up and then running into the wall, or catching the ball, him being run into the wall, the shattering the bat. Those are the moments that you kind of remember as a kid.
And you also remember David, the poor soul who is charged with keeping the care over these kids
AKA
at the baseball games.
Nacho Butt.
Those are wonderful, funny moments as a kid, right? Like we laughed hysterically when it like comes back around and he's wearing like the poncho and the rain pants and everything to protect it. And then at the very end, he's the one most decked out in Angel's gear with the little spinning halo that he's wearing. Like I enjoy movies where the character arcs even trickle down to your very minor characters like David.
They took some time to give him his little tiny arc.
He's got his little arc. He's got his little moment. And that's really fun. But for me, like the heart of the movie is that arc that Danny Glover's character goes on. That's just kind of, I don't know. That's really cool. You see him say some incredibly awful things, like what he says to Tony Danza's character. You're like,
about the pills.
Yeah. Like, well, you forced them down my throat, and he's like, well, you didn't have to swallow them, and I was like, wow, like that whole little moment. I'm like, this is tense. But then
it's okay. They kill
softens
him off.
up. Yeah. Well, and that's what's funny is he dies. And then Danny Glover, who said the awful things, it's like, oh, it's okay. He gets to be a dad at the end of the movie. Yay. You die, you become a dad.
Yeah.
This should have ended up differently, but
no,
nonetheless.
I definitely felt bad for Joseph Gordon-Levitt when his dad basically abandons him. I didn't quite catch that as a kid, what was going on. Him getting abandoned, it was just so, when he actually has to go into court and his dad walks past in the other direction, he's just like, Dad. That's heartbreaking.
It is.
Being a dad watching that now, it's just like, how could you do that? I don't understand.
Yeah, and I think in the rewatch here, it is neat that to kind of shine a light on something that was and still is a very serious issue. I know I've got close friends who foster kids that have done some pretty amazing things in that area, and it's, I don't know, I thought this was kind of a cool moment of the movie to kind of highlight that aspect.
Yep, I would agree.
And the good work there. So yeah, this was a good rewatch. It had been probably since I was a kid in the mid 90s since I had seen this.
It's been a long time.
Been a really long time, but nonetheless, a really good. And I gotta say, it does what I want from every sports movie, because I'm not a sports fan, right?
You're
I'm a sports.
Falling off the wagon.
So they a good sports movie needs to have that moment at the end that just kind of becomes a tearjerker, right? Like it just right, and you gotta love that moment at the very end when Danny Glover walks out to Tony Danza, and Tony Danza says, "I've got nothing left," and Danny Glover says, "Yeah, you do. You've got one more strike left." And you've got an angel on you right now. Yeah, the kid sees an angel. Yeah, he must. That's the signal. And you go over and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like, oh, and everybody stands up and the whole state, as that building moment and the score and all that. You're like, of course he's gonna win. And I love that it was realistic still, right? That he still didn't throw that great of a pitch, but he caught it, gave him the strike, gave him the out. It was
you haven't seen a lot of that. You usually see a strike or a home run. You don't always see the tipped ball that the the pitcher himself dives to get. But you know what? That actually probably was true. He probably didn't have very much left, because it said that he had thrown 156 pitches. Let me just tell you, Eddie, most pitchers don't even hit 100 pitches in a game.
Most throw 100.
Do not throw, let alone having to go the entire freaking game. No reliever, no closer. 156 pitches is insane. So they were not trying to be very true to what the actual game is like. He should be dead. His arm should be falling off.
Well, maybe that's why he died, not the cigarettes.
He probably would. It said 6 months later he will die.
Well, the other not funny, but as soon as Christopher Lloyd's character says that about him, did you notice he all of a sudden starts coughing more?
Yep. Of course he does. A little more coughing. Here's my other issue I have with it, and it's another just ridiculous JB's things that makes him mad. So the whole thing is about them winning the pennant, which I didn't realize this as a kid. That's just a regular season award. It is not like the World Series. This is literally just you won your division, and that's it. That's all you have to do is just beat 4 other teams and you get it. And that is the big, I can't believe they won the pennant. The season isn't even over after this game. There is still the playoffs to go. There's still the postseason. Why did he want them to win the pennant so bad? Is it just because the word pennant sounds good? Yeah, pennant. Why didn't he say, you know what? I would say when the Angels win the World Series. Could you make it that? You could have had a whole playoff series.
Maybe that shows just how bad they were, right? Like, it's so unbelievable that they would even win the pennant. Maybe that was the route they were going.
Maybe they didn't want to have to worry about them actually winning the World Series that year. And then it's like, well, your TV people could win the World Series, but you can't win the World Series.
I think honestly it is what if it's a calculated just production standpoint of it'd be really hard to film and reenact a World Series 7 games. So let's just say it's the pennant. Oh, pennant's one word instead of World Series. Yeah, this will be so much easier just to let's change the script to just be pennant.
Let's see. Did the Angels win the pennant in 1994. I had it. No, they did not. They came in fourth.
So it is accurate.
They did not. They did. No, hold up. No, wait a minute. This is this now? Hold up. 1994 Angels season record. Let's see. Vamp for me while I'm trying to look up this random stat.
Well, I'm curious.
They came in last place. I spat now, and I just spat all over the microphone. They came in last place in 1994 when this movie came out. Actually, wait a minute. Hold up.
So what is the name of this team? So in the movie, it's the California Angels.
So at the time, they were still called the California Angels. They became the Los Angeles Angels later. Then they became the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim somewhere, or Anaheim Angel. They changed their name so many freaking times.
And then, so I thought they were the Anaheim Angels.
No.
They've never been that.
They have. We should look that up while we're doing it. They at one point were the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. It's kind of like what were called.
Because that's very confusing to be like the Los Angeles Angels, the Angels. Yes, and then I'm up on Wikipedia now. Then they first changed their name to California Angels in 1965.
They were the Anaheim. They became the Anaheim Angels 3 years after this movie.
Renamed by Disney Sports Incorporated.
Yep. Then they became the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in 2005. And then they dropped the name in 2016.
So they're now just the Los Angeles Angels.
Yep.
Which is what they originally were when the team was started in 1892.
Very intriguing, Eddie. These are things you learn. Another thing to note, they're actually, it's ironic. They're not only did they finish last place in their division, in that the whole season never ended because there was a Major League Baseball strike. So this movie cursed the Angels, cursed the entire season, all in one fell swoop.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but if memory serves me correct, there was an Angels game early on for your romance with your wife. Am I forgetting a detail?
It was one of our first big dates. We went to a game. It was actually one of the worst games I've ever been to because we were with a group of people that we got there early, got some food, sat down to get we're up in the upper levels. I remember it was fun because we were right up next to the edge of the front of that section, and then it was just straight, then falls off to the next level below us. So we're balcony level, right up in again. But we had this bar that was like right next to us, and it was blocking our view. And my wife had to we were dating, or we weren't even dating quite yet at the time. She had to bend down below the bar to see anything. But then the people we were with decided 2 innings in, you know what? Or 3 innings in, you know what? Let's go get some food at this special place that's far on the other side. It took us 30 minutes to find that place, to get the food. Then
the stadium?
In the stadium. It was the weirdest concourse thing you had to get through. And then they just wanted to walk around the entire freaking game. It was beyond annoying. Whatever's beyond that, it was absurd.
And let's do a little deep dive into JB here, okay? For those of you who don't know, JB is not he's not an extrovert. I hold that title.
Yep.
You are very much an introvert. Like one-on-one, you're great. Like you go deep, wonderful. But you put
thank you.
A group of unknown people on you, it's like exhausting. Am I right?
It was so exhausting.
And I just remember because this was really early on for you guys, and I'm like cheering you on. I'm so excited. We were like texting, and I'm like, how's it going? And you're like, this is awful. And I'm like, oh no, what's happening? And I'm like, man, maybe he's discovering they don't get along, or I'm thinking it's all you and her, but
No.
it's like, no, it's all these externals. And as soon as you said, like, I'm here with a group of people I've never met, and they just want to walk around the stadium, like, this isn't good. This isn't good.
But it worked out because we got
out.
married, and I don't think I'm ever hung out with those people really much ever again.
And let's hope they don't listen to this podcast.
They don't care.
So you survived, and at that time they were the Los Angeles Angels, Anaheim Angels. Who cares? Let's not go back into that. And now we get to talk about Angels in the Outfield. Did you think about Angels in the Outfield while you were there? Did you have a moment where you're like, this is the field that Christopher Lloyd flew across?
Maybe
you were
a little
distracted.
Bit. I mean, I was really distracted first.
There was a pretty girl right in front
wife, of you. And secondly, by the absurdity of what we were doing instead of just, watching, this weird thing where you just watch a baseball game instead of walking around everywhere. But you know what? It is what it is.
I find baseball to be incredibly boring.
Kind of is.
If it's not Rookie of the Year, Angels in the Outfield, or Moneyball, I will not watch it.
You are a Moneyball fan, Eddie?
Aaron Sorkin.
There we go. That's a great movie. I love that film.
No, I love Moneyball. I own it also on DVD, or I stole it from my mom. I can't remember. It's
Same
okay.
thing.
I'm giving her this copy of the Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with my DVD copy of. I was thinking about donating it to the local library.
Look at you. So little kids, the next generation.
The next generation. They need to know.
Thinking of the next generation.
They need this film in their life. So after I rip it to my hard drive and say that I'll give it to them.
Well, they need to put it on Disney Plus. Like
they do.
Why?
Did we hypothesize why this thing isn't on Disney Plus? Because it's a remake.
That was my initial guess. I don't know.
It's a mystery. If you're listening to this and you know why, or you work for Disney and you're listening to our podcast, this is one of our gripes, is that the things that aren't on there.
Yeah, I really wish people would tell me why certain things aren't on Disney Plus. Like I'm really, really curious about that.
Eddie, here's a question for you. If the dad bucks up and becomes a good father and takes him back into his home and they sail into the sunset, do the Angels ever win the pennant?
I don't think so.
They're pretty bad.
They're
Everybody
pretty
goes
bad.
on. Tony Danza still dies because can't reverse that. What happens to Danny Glover's career? He just probably tanks and is never the same again.
I'm curious how he's going to make it work being a single dad when he travels out of town for like a good chunk of the year.
They're going with him on those games.
Right?
They're going with him on those games.
But when do they get schooling? I don't know.
Well, they'll hire the teacher from Mighty Ducks 2. She's available at that time. This is true. She can come in and teach them.
I've just discovered some pretty big breaking news. Are you ready for this?
I don't know if I am, but go for it.
I'm trying to figure out why it's not on Disney Plus. I don't have an answer to that, so that's not the breaking news. We have no idea why it's not on Disney Plus. But did you know that there was not just one sequel, but two sequels?
No, I did not.
Okay,
Angels are still in the outfield.
Where do you think they go with this? So we have Angels in the Outfield. Guess the
Angels
titles.
in the End Zone.
Yes, that is the next one. You're looking at this?
No, I'm not.
See if you can do it. What is the third one? Came out in 2000.
Angels in the Half Court.
Angels in the Infield. Do you see what they did?
They brought it back. They realized it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work in football, but they would bring it back to this.
1997, Angels in the End Zone. Christopher Lloyd returned for that. It was a made-for-TV sequel.
Hold up. Ooh, we get a little bit of, what's his name? From, Eddie. Eddie, there's so many 90s vibes happening right now. Looking at this in the End Zone. We get some Eddie. One of the kids from Seventh Heaven is in Angels in the End Zone.
No.
It's his beautiful locks of hair. The blonde-haired kid in here. Oh man, what is this kid's name? Oh, I'm in the wrong.
Oh, there's Matthew Lawrence. The kid right up front with like the heavy center split hair. He was in like every Disney Channel movie imaginable.
He was also was he in Boy Meets World?
Yes.
The later years when he goes to college and stuff like that?
Yes, he was.
So we get him in there. Not Paul Dooley. David Gallagher.
Yes.
Oh, man. Ooh, here's a deep cut. We also have Jack Coleman from Heroes.
Wow.
Love me some Jack Coleman. He was so sinister in Heroes. But anyways, I love that David Gallagher from Seventh Heaven is in Angels in the Out. That makes my day right there.
And so the third one was a Disney television film as well, Angels in the Infield.
Did they get Christopher Lloyd for that?
No, they got somebody even better. They got Patrick Warburton. I don't know if he's even better, but I love Patrick Warburton.
Oh, okay, yep. I'm tracking with you.
I love Patrick Warburton. Now I want to see this movie just because I know he's in it.
This is special. This is special. You guys need to go right now.
How did I never? Now I just don't want Angels in the Outfield. I want all three. I want the whole trilogy on Disney Plus.
Yeah, I'm not gonna shell out money for those.
No, we are not. I am not waiting on those DVDs to come. I just want Disney Plus to give it so I can watch it for like 30 minutes and go, oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I've never heard of it.
Yeah, you will not find me anywhere near paying for any of those other two films.
No. So in closing here, any dad tips for us?
Don't abandon your children.
Yeah.
Love your children. Don't give them away. But if you're going to do it, at least wear the leather jacket while you're doing it. Like and Dermot Mulroney.
And put the cigarette out on your jeans.
Oh man, but
then all of a sudden have another cigarette when you're outside and you flick it. It's like, oh, hold on.
I need to know the timing of the cigarette.
If you're trying to win your kids over, teach them how to cook meatballs and lasagna, even though they don't like lasagna, even though they've never had lasagna.
That actually is pretty accurate to everyday life. My son all the time hates something before he actually tries it. So yeah, no, that's one of my favorite lines that I didn't mention before. Yeah. Well, what do we have coming up next week on Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast? What's our next movie? Eddie, our next one is perfectly timed for March, which is The Santa Claus is our next film on the list.
It's perfectly timed in that it stars Tim Allen, who is in the final episodes of his TV show Last Man Standing.
Okay.
Is that that's a bit of a stretch, but
yeah, we're going to be covering Santa Claus because you know what, we try to do things in order, which is why we didn't have this episode last week because we were waiting for the DVD to get in from God knows where. Anaheim.
It came from Anaheim. I watched the UPS tracker. This was probably for sale in Anaheim, Angels, whatever it's called, stadium.
Someone probably went down to the gift shop.
Somebody went to the gift shop and they're like, some idiot in Indiana needs one of these. Let's grab one of that.
Yep. So we're going to be covering the Santa Claus, a little bit of Christmas spirit in the middle of March. And hopefully the Disney Plus also has some presents for us this weekend with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But we will maybe talk about that next time. See it all shipped out. But thank you for listening. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Go to our website, honeywemade.com/movies to see all of our master list of all the films that we're going to be covering. But Eddie, I got to go get my glove out and do pop some fly balls.
I need to go take a nap because I've watched way too much baseball.
Okay. See you later.